Well, rugby is getting a major boost in China. In March, Alibaba signed a 10-year deal with World Rugby for rights to broadcast exclusive content. Ali Sports will show matches on platforms like Youku Tudou. World Rugby also said it would work with Alibaba to bring major rugby events into China. The deal fits in with the government's plans to transform the country's sports market into a trillion-dollar industry by 2025. Reports say that ambition is what's driving Alibaba's big bet on sports. Jack Ma's e-commerce giant also recently secured a broadcast deal with the National Football League, or NFL, the Professional American Football League. Ma also backs Le Sports, which inked a broadcast deal with Major League Baseball. The company is also heavily involved in sponsorships. In the last few months, it signed agreements with the world governing soccer body FIFA and European football clubs Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. And speaking of teams, Alibaba also co-owns Chinese champion Guangzhou Evergrande. All right, for more on Alibaba's athletic ambitions, we welcome André Richelieu. He's an expert on brand management and sports marketing. He also co-authored the book, Sports Marketing. He joins us now live from Montreal. Welcome, André.
Good evening.
Now, let's start with Ali Sports' recent deal to develop rugby players in exchange for streaming rights. So how unusual is this strategy?
Well, I would say that there's a major shift or transformation in the ecosystem of the sports industry, and we should look at two key trends. The first one is how people will consume sports in the future, more and more over the internet and gradually less on traditional TV on the one hand. And on the other hand, China as a country, but also through its companies, it is taking on a bigger role in the sports industry worldwide, as do other emerging countries such as Qatar, Russia, India, and other countries who want to establish themselves on the global scene. And this is in line with what we call a nation branding strategy through sports, and China definitely is working hard on that stream.
Now, in terms of that branding strategy, we're also seeing China's goal of becoming a rugby and football superpower. So do you think other partnerships like this will follow?
Well, probably, because now China is becoming a major player. So China as a market is huge. We see a growing disposable income among the middle class. So there are huge opportunities in the Chinese market, but also for Chinese companies abroad. In North America, you mentioned the deal with some of the leagues, but also in Europe. And this is in line with what we see from other countries, from other companies, from other emerging countries. And in an industry which globally is estimated as at 150 billion US dollars, China wants to take a big piece of that pie. And I think it's working hard in this regard. And I believe they have the means. They have an increasing ambition, but also the means to achieve their ambition. And they are working in this regard to do that.
Now, André, you can't talk about sports without talking about advertising being part of the conversation. And considering all the ways people consume media these days, as you mentioned, online, through their smartphones, what does the market look like for online advertisers?
Well, within the next 3 years, we estimate that at over 8 billion US dollars. And there will be a shift, as I mentioned, from traditional TV to the internet, from broadcasting to streamlining. So definitely the revenues from advertising will be very important, even more important than the streamlined rights, because now you're talking at billions of potential customers for different leagues, different events, different competitions. So what used to be very regional or at best national truly becomes global with the internet platform. And Chinese companies try to position themselves in this regard, and that's why advertising revenues are becoming increasingly important, and teams, leagues, federations need to adjust the business model from what used to be a major revenue source from, TV rights. Now it will be from streamlining and also the advertising over the internet. So we need to reconfigure how the business is done in the sports industry, and Chinese companies are definitely giving a boost in this regard for the coming years.
Now, with more exposure to more consumers with all these different platforms, let's also look at some of the sports-related businesses which are on the rise. We're seeing increasing interest in premium sportswear from that growing middle class of Chinese consumers that you mentioned. So who are some of the local players to watch?
Well, I would say that what is becoming important for Chinese consumers, as many consumers around the world is what the brand brings you in terms of symbolic dimensions. Not only the tangible dimension, but also the symbolism. So the self-esteem, the prestige, the aspiration associated with a brand. So if they are Chinese brands that are able to build that kind of brand equity, that kind of relationship, that trust with consumers, they will be able to compete with global brands such as Nike, Adidas, Converse, and others. But definitely, what people consume is not only the tangible or the functional product, it's also the symbols that are associated with the brand, and that's what Chinese companies have to work on now, trying to compete with these global brands, trying to be more the symbol of certain aspiration and key dimensions that consumers are looking for when they buy a brand.
All right, André Richelieu, we're going to have to leave it there, sports marketing expert and author. Thank you very much.